officially in executive session, and then we had some technology issues. So thank you for bearing with us. So this evening, we do have a communication piece. Before that, I would like to just extend the condolences from the board to the Wylesek family. We have a teacher, a Whitfield teacher, Kelly Wylesek, passed away last week, and she had been a teacher at Whitfield for over 30 years. So our hearts are with her family, the staff at Whitfield, all of the students that she had strong impacts on over the years, and the families that had her as their teacher. So I don't know if any board members wish to share or are able to share, because obviously it's very emotional, but we just wanted to extend our condolences as a board.
I was lucky enough to teach with Kelly my entire time that I taught at Whitfield, and I was on her team for 2 years when we were in second grade. Two of my most fun years that I was a teacher, a great team there at Whitfield. Some of my favorite memories, I remember we would eat lunch in our second grade classroom, and Michelle Hall would have to tell Kelly to not stand in front of the microwave because she was pregnant. And she was like, that's probably, because you don't have it up high when you're in the classroom, it's on your little fridge. I remember when the boys were born, I remember going to her house, and when she lived in the old house in Old Whitfield, and then when they got the new house, and Kelly really was, she embodied Whitfield and the spirit of Whitfield, and she was Patrick's second grade teacher, and she got sick right after her mom passed, and right after my mom passed. And she had fought for 18 years, and I really, I can't imagine her not here with us and fighting. And I was able to see Joe and the boys yesterday, and I'm grateful for them, for all the support that they gave Kelly, and I'm grateful for the Whitfield community because they really are the best. And it's a great loss for everyone. And it's just a reminder, a constant reminder how bad cancer sucks and how unfair of a disease that is. So again, my heart goes out to Joe and the boys, and to the whole Whitfield community, parents and teachers and the staff alike.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. And this evening, for our first communication piece, is our group from Whitfield. I'm going to have Mrs. P come up, and whoever else she wants to bring along with her, for the Whitfield Adaptive Playground update.
I actually did get to share with Tyler and Trevor and Joe yesterday that it's not every day you can go into someone's classroom with your multiple disability students and they are just treated like every other kid, but that is something that Kelly did. And I got to share that with them, and they cried and we hugged and stuff, but those are the things that, leave you with those good memories. So, and nothing would make her happier than this project, so, for Kelly. Yeah. So we're just sharing tonight the latest update. It's a little long, it's like a 10-minute video, but it's a little piece of how the playgrounds so far, phase 1 and 2, have touched our community. And I mean, let's be real, we live in a society right now where there's not a lot of positivity. So if anything, I hope that we can sit back and see the positive impacts that this has had on our community, and just something positive to watch. And it wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the support of our community board, administrators. So we're here to say thank you, and it's also like our push for phase 3. We have one final phase, I promise, that's it, just to see the project through. But I know Nicole was sharing with me a neat experience that she had just last week with the playground.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Nicole Good, and I'm one of the vision support teachers for the district. And I was sharing with Mary Beth that on Friday I was able to go out with one of my students who I don't typically get to go out with. And the playground has truly been a game changer. It was wonderful to see her be able to go out and interact with her peers. This was not forced. There was a little girl waiting for her by the door. She took her by the arm, guided her over to the playground equipment, and they played with a group of children. And for 15, 20 minutes, my student belly laughed with her peers. that's what Mary Beth and I envisioned when we were, sitting down and planning for this playground, was that all students could play together. And so when I was able to be out there and just looking around and seeing, Mary Beth's kiddos in their wheelchairs over by the musical instruments and being involved with their peers, and then, my students being involved with their peers, it was just heartwarming. So again, thank you for supporting us and this crazy dream. I know we've been nagging all of you to a certain extent, but it's been beautiful to kind of see come to light. So thank you again.
That's it.
Hi everybody, my name is Chad Curry, the principal at Whitfield Elementary. We are thrilled to announce the success of our second phase of the new adaptive playground at our building. This project beautifully aligns with our theme this year, Be the Change You Wish to See in the World. By creating this inclusive space, we're setting an example of what we strive to do at our building every day, making a difference for all of our students. As a unique school offering educational programs for students in life skills, autistic support, multiple disabilities, visual impairments, and more, this playground is a perfect addition. It all started as a brilliant idea for two incredible teachers, Mrs. Potasowitz and Mrs. Good, and seeing that it brought to life has been nothing more but inspiring. It's so heartwarming to see the joy of all of our students, their faces as they engage in the equipment, helping to foster an environment where all students are our students. We take pride in striving to live by those words, ensuring that every child feels included and valued at Whitfield.
Hi, my name is Kim Rice, and I've been here at Whitfield for over 10 years. I've been in the MDS room, the life skills room, and right now I'm in autistic support. And one of the biggest challenges to my job has been working with kids with limited mobility and getting them to play on the playground with their peers. Wheelchairs do not go well with mulch, neither do walkers. We also have a difficulty safely transporting kids. If a kid wants to go on a slide, a kid in a wheelchair is very difficult to get upstairs to the top of the slide, if it's possible, even at all, because of safety. But with this new equipment represents independence, it promotes dignity, it gives the kids the opportunity to all play together. For example, those children in wheelchairs, they can now ride equipment not only with their peers, but they can do it by themselves. And that gives them so much independence. So we've made a leap here at Whitfield, not only from being accessible, but to being inclusive.
I'm Gino.
And I'm Molly. Our son is Enzo. He's in the multiple disabilities classroom at Whitfield. And some of the great things that the adaptive playground has done for Enzo are it gives him something exciting to look forward to in his day. At his old school, they did not have a playground that he could go on, so it's something very new for him. We used to drive 30 minutes to the one in Lidditz for us to find an adaptive playground. So it's really cool that there's one right here in our community, just 2 minutes from home. Not only can he use it during school hours, but we can take our other kids there on the weekend and he can play with them on it as well. And it's really special to see pictures of Enzo participating on a playground with his peers and other kids being excited to include him. That's not something that can happen if you just have a regular playground.
Hi, my name's Barbara Moyer, and I'm the high school multiple disabilities teacher here at Wilson. The adaptive playground has been a wonderful addition for the low incidence classrooms at the high school as well. We walked down with the life skills classroom, autistic support has been down, and so has the MDS, and all the students really enjoyed playing on the equipment. I sent out pictures to parents, and many parents mentioned that they would come back and visit the playground again on the weekends, or that those activities are some of their students' favorite things to do. We really appreciate the invitation to come down and use the equipment, and it's wonderful to have a place that we can walk to from the high school so that we can engage in gross motor play.
My name is Sophie Cannon. I'm mom to Stella Cannon, a student at Green Valley Elementary School. Stella is 7 years old, she's in first grade, and she uses a wheelchair. Some of the challenges for Stella socially are playing with friends on a level playing field. She can't play on a traditional playground that has mulch. She can't climb. She can't get out of her wheelchair independently and go on a traditional swing and hold herself up. This makes it really hard for Stella to feel included at school, but also with her brothers. The playground here at Whitfield has given her an opportunity to play with other kids who may or may not have disabilities. On the merry-go-round, Stella is able to be with her brothers. Her brothers can operate that merry-go-round, and she's just thrilled.
Hi, my name is Julianne Epler. My granddaughter Paisley Conrad goes to Whitfield, and I'm here to talk about the adaptive playground that's being built. Paisley and I and her little sister visited the playground a little while back. I wanted to see what it was like, and Paisley was showing me the merry-go-round, the musical instruments. Them are her favorites, but the other things also. They're all very, very nice. It certainly is a great asset to the community and to the school. More and more schools are building adaptive playgrounds. All children deserve the right to play safely. Thanks again for your generous help in getting this playground done and any future help you give. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Darlene Deasing, and I am a multiple disabilities para, and I've been with the district for 18 years in with the multiple disabilities group in elementary. And the playground now, the way it is much nicer to deal with children in chairs, walkers, or even if they just have supports to help them move around for mobility. In the past, recess was very challenging for the staff as well as the students, because the students seemed like they were on the sidelines and didn't get much interaction with their peers. Now, with the new playground equipment, they get to make choices. They get to interact with their peers within the equipment, not out on the sidelines. The glider, there's a ramp to get up on it. They get to use it with others, helping to make it go. And I've seen a lot of the regular ed children who are smiling, interacting, willing to come up to them and say, hey, what do you want to do today? They'll say, and if our students don't answer, we might give them a choice, and they might touch a hand or just follow them. And it's just great to see all the interaction that's going on. And it also helps because that ramp that we now have to access the mulch gets our students underneath the canopy where there's shade on really, really hot days. We can get them closer to equipment to get them out for transfers, which is a lot easier, and we're not carrying them and lifting them to get to this equipment. And I can't wait for the rest of the equipment to arrive, because I guess there's a world of opportunity out there for everybody.
Hi everyone, my name is Erica Hassler, and I am one of the kindergarten teachers here at Whitfield.
Hi, I'm Molly Hodnick, and I teach second grade. And we as classroom teachers were just very excited to have the opportunity to talk about the positive impacts that we've noticed out on the recess yard with our new adaptive equipment. We've really noticed that the extended play space that is accessible to many of our students has had such a positive impact for students to play together.
Over the last few years, both Ms. Hodnick and myself have had the opportunity to work with students across the life skills classroom, learning support, autistic support, and the multiple disabilities classroom. We have both been fortunate enough to see this year how the adaptive playground has allowed students to be more interactive and taking that ownership of going up to students from all different classrooms and asking them to play with them. And we don't only notice this outside on the playground, but we also have been noticing a change inside the classroom as well.
So on behalf of all of the students here at Whitfield now, and all of the students we'll have here in the future, I want to thank the Willsie School District and our community for investing in our students of all abilities so that they can grow, learn, and play together.
This playground has really been a blessing for her and for my family. It has really given us a way to feel included in our community and a way for us to watch our children play together.
We are very, very grateful for that adaptive playground. We are grateful for the district's aid and generous donations from everyone to help to get it built.
We also just wanted to take this opportunity to thank our Whitfield community, which has been integral in putting this project together. And mostly we want to thank the students who not only have raised money for this, but their passion just drove this project and kept us going and kept us motivated to reach our goals.
Thank you to everyone who has helped make this dream a reality and for being a part of the positive change that we want to see in the world. We look forward to your continued support as we head into Phase 3.
Well, that was definitely a very moving, very positive video, and we appreciate the update. I get to see it often in action and can corroborate. It draws all kids, all ages, all abilities in, and that was just it was a very nice kind of update. So thank you, Mr. Schneider. Yeah.
I would just like to yell into the microphone, apparently. I would just like to thank you guys for spearheading this. Like, it's really just such a benefit. And you can see it it doesn't just benefit the kids, it benefits the staff, and like they said in the video, and the community. And so I could not be more excited than for the Phase 3 update.
Oh, Mrs. P. Sorry, just so everyone, yeah.
Just the gen ed teachers had stated that the gen ed students are so much more comfortable with our students inside our special ed classroom, I think because they have that natural opportunity to play. So they're buddying up with them now more so in the classroom. They want to be their partner. They're also learning how to communicate with them appropriately. Like, they're not touching their face and, getting too close. Like, they're learning that they can communicate and play just like you. And so transferring everything from the play space into the classroom has been really cool to see, and I don't get to witness it as much. I'm kind of in my MDS world most of the day. The kids kind of go out with the paras, but I do get the feedback from the paras and the teachers, so yeah.
I just want to say, if I can add, I appreciate the reel. It was beautiful. As part of the facilities committee, you wonder when you're, starting to fund some of these, how much they're going to be used and appreciated, and this completely answered my question, so.
Yeah, they're used really hard because we've had to replace a lot already.
Yeah, thanks. Do you want to talk about the third stage of?
I just brought up the paperwork.
Perfect.
So we have one more phase that we would like to do. So what that's going to look like is we would like to include 2 additional swings. So you could see in the video there that we already have a framework for the swings, but the swings that are there don't currently have trunk control. So there's like a strap at the waist, but a lot of Mary Beth's kiddos don't have the ability to hold themselves up. So we're looking at getting some new swings with trunk control. So we're gonna keep that frame to try and keep the cost down, but get 2 new swings to put on that existing frame. And then we have an additional piece of equipment called a roller table. That we will be putting in between the glider and the musical instruments, and then taking that poured-in-play surface across from where we currently have it stopped next to the glider over to the musical instruments. And I think we have a grand total for those 3 things. I think it's like $34,000.
Yeah, 35, almost 35.
Almost $35,000. So that will be the completion of the playground project. So Mary Beth and I do have a few fundraising ideas that we will do like at a more smaller level at Whitfield this school year to hopefully get that Phase 3 in place, hopefully by the summer.
So the roller table that you see is, it's basically like a slide that is level, so it has rollers on it, and it also has these metal bars that go over. So someone who doesn't have good trunk control or leg control can we can get in it. It's just table height, so they can get their wheelchair up to it, and an easier transfer from the wheelchair to the slide, the table, and then they can pull themselves through it, or you can help them through it. So it's basically giving the slide idea without having the steps involved.
I just Googled it. I kind of want to ride it myself.
I know. There is the website that we're getting the equipment from, or that the district typically does, actually has a good video that shows it in use, and it shows a kid taking his wheelchair over and transferring himself into it. So when we did the first phases, they weren't the original, like the original plan that we had isn't how we ended up buying the equipment. We kind of bought the equipment price-wise, what we thought we could fundraise for. But then once we put those in, it kind of had to change the dynamics and the placement of everything. So we did have to like revamp, but we actually think we found a way to, instead of adding 2 more swings, we're replacing where the swings already are, which is in the mulch, so we don't have to use more of that poured in place. And then we have wiggle room when we want something else.
So we can share the video to our social media, but are you going to have the link to the, Molly has, the Give Butter? I think that's what Molly usually uses. Will you have that link up
I
again?
think it's still the same one from before, but.
Because I think it's better to pair the link and the video together.
Yeah.
And if we're able to give suggestions related to fundraising, definitely Smensel's.
No, that's like,
Please. I need a couple more.
We are doing an earring sale, whoever wants Wilson earrings.
Yes, starting next Monday.
That's a fun idea.
Yes.
Like paw prints or?
All kinds.
Oh, fun.
All
Okay.
kinds. There will be a display board here at the high school, and there will be a display board at Whitfield. So starting next Monday through the end of the month, stop by and get your Wilson earrings.
Sounds like something that would make an excellent Christmas present.
Yes, teacher gifts, coach gifts, anybody gifts.
Your favorite MDS teacher gifts. Quick shout out, Mr. Durr has helped us with all these videos, so he believed in our vision. I mean, he came here tonight and supported us, but we go to him with these crazy ideas like, can we make a video? Can you record us? And we get people coming in at all times of the day, and he finds time to record them and make sure it's as important to him as it is to us. So I just wanted to tell him thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys very much. We look forward to the next phase.
And Dr. Trickett, I guess one of the considerations for the next facilities meeting we can talk about, because we try to keep all the playgrounds equal, the same, so.
Yeah, so this particular project, the focus is really to make this a community playground. However, there is allocation that we have in our yearly capital plan to invest really on the maintenance of all the other playgrounds, but we'd be happy to sit down with the committee and talk about some ways that the district could help support the final phase of this project. And just while I have my microphone on, we all know our teachers are amazing. So many projects and ideas come and go, and oftentimes the ones that actually come to life is because of people who are passionate and who don't stop, perhaps with the first request, but continue to put in the effort and just share their passion. And I think this is a perfect example of that. And Matt, Mr. Durr, I'll include you in that as well, is helping to see this vision all the way to the end. And I'm hopeful that we can hit the deadline that Mrs. Good shared regarding summer. We'll see. So thank you.
Thank you. We do not have any public participation on agenda items, correct? Okay, but we do have Mrs. Luke here tonight in place of Mr. Maravich, so obviously we don't change the nameplate, but yes, just.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're happy to have you. The board did not meet in executive session. More informational for tonight's meeting. And moving to approval of minutes, looking to request or motion to approve the minutes from school board held on October 21st, 2024.
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Payment of bills, Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion to approve the payment of bills from the general fund in the amount of $2,847,079.94.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. We have a motion for 3.1. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cucker. Tonight, the report is pretty typical for this time of year. Included within is unfortunately, some resignations, folks moving on to other school districts. One retiree, Tom, would like to wish you the best as you move into this next phase of your life, serving 13 years within our transportation department. I'm sure has lots of great stories to share from meeting kids and different of our different teammates over in transportation department. Also like to call attention to some of our support staff hires. Although this time of year isn't as busy with some of our teacher hires, we're always busy with the changeover of support staff members. So welcome to all of our new staff under 4.6.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. I'm looking for a motion to approve superintendent's report 4.1 through 4.9 as presented. Mr. Hart, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper?
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under field ratification approval of field trips, request approval for 5 members of the high school cybersecurity club team and 1 chaperone, Omanon Gonzalez, to travel to Washington, D.C., December 16th through the 18th, 2024, to participate in the Core Net Wars Tournament of Champions for an invitational-only event that brings together the top-scoring individual and team players from Core Net Wars tournaments from the past year. The cost to the district will be transportation and chaperone expenses, approximately $625. Also request approval for 1 additional chaperone to attend the trip to Paris, France for the 15 honors French 4 and 5 students. The additional chaperone is Mike Pearsall, who is a non-district individual, but previously employed, and obviously clearances are taken care of, just an additional chaperone. Looking for approval of, or looking for a motion to approve the field trips as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion?
Both Mr. Schneider and I made a play for the French trip, and we got shot down.
I'm so sorry. Condolences for Paris, France. That would be a nice trip. I would like to comment on the high school cybersecurity club. I remember, I don't even know how many, maybe 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, that it was established. And they are performing at extremely high levels, an invitation-only event for Tournament of Champions. So hopefully they continue their success, and good luck to them. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, this is a consent item, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Under Student Services, 6.1, request approval of 3D K-9 Partner Service Agreement to provide K-9 detection services beginning November 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025 as presented. 6.2, request approval of a service agreement with ABA Support Services for staffing services beginning 10/28/24 and ending 10/28/25, pending solicitor review and approval. And 6.3, request approval of a renewal of a 2-year agreement with the River Rock Academy for 12 reserve slots in the AEDY and secondary special education program at a rate of $333,999 for the 2025-26 school year and $344,033.40 for the 2026-27 school year to be invoiced monthly as presented. Looking for a motion to approve student service items 6.1 through 6.3. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion?
I just have a question on 6.2. With regard to the contract, it's kind of written, it has pricing for the roles and an hourly rate, but is there anything that we budgeted, or what does that look like? How many folks are we actually going to expect we use for the next year?
Dr. Hoffert, could you come up to speak to this item, please?
And just in light, many of the things are written this way, just for going forward, if there's some sort of way we can sort of budget for things written this way, that would be helpful.
So this is a staffing agency. Obviously, this is a fee schedule, like you said. It's based on an hourly rate. We would request a service to replace potentially an employee that we weren't able to fill a position. So we would transfer money from a personnel budget to cover this. We also have budgeted money under contracted services to provide this type of support. So we work within the budget that's already been approved to fulfill these roles. So this is just another staffing agency that can help us fill some roles that we're not able to fill.
But is it 10 roles, 20 roles, 5 roles?
It's just based on need. You know, you could have a student move in that requires this type of service, and we have to try to provide that either with the staff that we have or by contracting somebody to do it. So I can't give you a number.
Okay. So next year, I mean, if we're going to continue this, can we remember this moment and let us know how many folks?
And I could tell you at the start of the year where we are, but like I said, things change throughout the course of the year.
Right.
You know, you could have a child move in with a more complex IEP that requires this type of support, or a kid that we identify throughout the course of the year that requires this type of support, and we need to add that. So it's very flexible.
Okay.
I will say, just add on to Dr. Hoffer, and everything that we do and bring forth to the board is included within the scope of our current budget. So we have allocations for contracted services. We obviously have a large chunk of our budget is for professional services, and looking at the different types of services they provide. Many times, as he said, there are transfers that need to take place. When there are, gaps in, for example, a board-certified behavioral analyst, if we don't have someone currently, if we don't have an RBT, we will just have to make those decisions as an IEP team meets, and then we work with our finance team to make sure that we're transferring money appropriately. And year after year, we've always, stayed within those budgeted dollar amounts.
Okay. I have one other question just in general about River Rock. Are we getting the value per se at River Rock? I mean, when you look at the lease that we are charging them, it's about, if I'm reading this right, $144,000 for the year?
That one hasn't come up yet, but yeah.
Right, that's later. But then for 12 students, they're going to charge us $333,000. Then the year after that, $344,000 for 12 students. I mean, that's roughly...
Well, I mean, one's a contract for rent, and the other one's a contract for, programming.
I understand, but I mean, it's sort of like...
Yeah, it would be.
I mean, is that still working out that we should be, leasing that building to them? And it just seems like a lot of money. It's about $27,000 per student for 12 students. I would think that there'd be a better deal, being that we are only charging $144,000 for...
That actually is a better deal.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a premium rate above that. We negotiated this down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel we're getting the value?
I feel we are.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Hoffert. Any other questions or comments for student services?
Could I just provide one additional piece of information on 6.3? When we go into these agreements where we're pre-purchasing slots, the other thing that does for the organization is gives us a little bit more agility. When we get into a decision point with a family in regarding how we're currently able to meet their needs in our school district, it gives us another option. If we didn't have that option, and if that option, now River Rock operates multiple facilities, but a large percentage of our students that we currently send out, I believe, are either at Lower Heidelberg or at Amity. So it just makes that conversation go a little bit more smoothly when you have close proximity to the school. And the majority of these slots, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, are secondary. Is it all? So again, we're dealing with situations with students who aren't being successful in our current environment. Oftentimes are exhibiting behaviors, and this gives us an option to educate them in an environment that's a little bit more therapeutic and smaller to meet their needs.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other comments or questions for student service items? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Technology and Media, 7.1, request approval of a 30-month contract with the Chester County IU, Unit IU 24, for data backup services as attached. And 7.2, request approval to renew the contract with Lincoln Intermediate Unit, LIU, for E-rate consulting services for the E-rate fiscal year 2025. Final cost is dependent on final number of E-rate submissions and final reimbursement amount. Looking for a motion to approve technology items 7.1 and 7.2.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Operations, 8.1, request approval of the purchase of 2 new video boards and 2 scoreboards from Watchfire for the high school gymnasium using CoStar's program. 8.2, request approval of a freshman baseball infield maintenance project with Hummer Turf Grass Systems using CoStar's program. Request approval of a junior varsity softball infield renovation with Hummer Turf Grass Systems. 8.4, request approval of a change order number 8 for Stubner for the high school auditorium, additions and renovations. 8.5, request approval for change order number 9 for ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. 8.6, approval of a change order number 11 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. 8.7, request approval of the change order number 12 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. 8.8, request approval of the change order number 13 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. And 8.9, request approval of change order number 14 by ER Stubner for the high school auditorium addition and renovation. Looking for a motion to approve operations items 8.1 through 8.9.
So moved. Case?
Mr. Case, thank you. Do we have a second?
Denny?
Mrs. Denny, thank you. Any discussion?
I just have a.
Yes, Mrs. Casper?
Are these all budgeted within the budget? Okay. just
So,
wanted to make
yes, actually, I was going to comment on that item. So, within our budget for the auditorium project, we had close to $500,000 in a contingency, and the change orders fall under that contingency. So I think last count, we're close to, this is an estimation, we're at about a quarter of that budget-wise. So we've used about a quarter of those funds. But we have it we have a contingency fund because this is to be expected for a large project. Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Any other questions or comments?
I did want to bring up a question, and maybe it would be best if Jeff doesn't mind stepping up and answering. But there are some of the change orders on here that if you read through these, it seems like it's a miss on the architect's perspective. So is there a reason why we're being charged the contingency and not the architect? Because there's a couple of these things that doesn't seem like that should have been missed. Something on the drawing, a measurement, this stuff should have been caught in the beginning. And that's what, we're paying them over $1 million, right, to spec this stuff out.
Mr. Simcox, is that something that you'd be able to address?
So there is truth to that. When you're in this particular project where it's between the two buildings, it's a very tight thing with existing infrastructure. That was, we had plans, but not fantastic as-built plans. So some of that falls into that, getting out of the ground, which we're now out of the ground. So as far as, I guess I'm okay to say we've been meeting and will continue to meet with the architects and the engineering team to discuss any involvement they have in some of the change orders that have come through. There's a certain percentage in a construction project that I don't want to say things that are missed, but just not everything that can be accounted for. But we are meeting with them to discuss their involvement in this, whether it be the, any of the engineering, the MEP people, the piping. It's a pretty diverse group and overlap of what some of these change orders are. I don't know if that
I would imagine there's a little bit of back and forth. I mean, but it seems like there's some clear misses that, is the architect company coming back and saying, we'll take this one?
We met with them this morning. We're going to meet again on Wednesday morning and continue the dialogue as far as where some of the responsibilities are, I don't know if I want to say misses. I don't know if I want to be that, I don't want to be judgmental with it, but there's definitely some components to it that we're questioning, and they're at the table with us to discuss it, and we're going to continue on that path until we get everything rectified.
I would just add that, the board has seen, I guess it's now we're in the double digits of change orders, but there's many more that come across Jeff's desk, that get discussed, that don't come before the board. So our assurance to you is that our team, led by Jeff, is giving our due diligence to these change orders. I think the other perspective that I've learned throughout this process is, well, they're big numbers. Each one of these is often measured in $10,000 intervals. One could have the counter perspective that had some of these unforeseen pieces been known at time of bid day, that likely some of the detailed drawings may have been slightly different, which would have possibly resulted in higher bids at bid day. So I think once you kind of wrestle with it, and then the other is that there is one change order 9 that was actually our request. We requested a change to our lighting control modules in the board. So just, it's a conversation. And the conversation that Mr. Simcox is talking about this week is an ongoing conversation between contractors, engineers, owner, us, as well as one of our contracting partners. So that's a bigger conversation. We're trying to find resolution and figure out where responsibility lies.
Appreciate that. And
Yeah,
it's a great conversation. And
one of the things, too, is if you remember with the unclassified construction, we would be coming back every time there would be, by volume, like cubic yardages of rock excavation that we did. The board had decided to go along with our recommendation to take the unclassified, which means that we own that. So that would have exceeded everything you've seen so far, probably in the first several weeks of excavation. So we kind of bought futures into that. So they own the rock, so that's a big one off the table. Some of the smaller items, it's kind of to be expected in something. A new build would be a lot different than building in an existing one, and the renovation portion of it.
great. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate all the stuff you do and keeping us on track.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Any other comments or questions for operations items? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 9.1, request approval of the 2-year lease renewal with River Rock Academy LLC for the use of the district's Lower Heidelberg building for the operation of an alternative education program commencing on July 1st, 2025 for a monthly rate of $12,013.55 with an increase of 5% in the second year. 9.2, request approval of an information exchange agreement with Berks EIT Bureau. Looking for a motion to approve finance items 9.1 and 9.2.
McCray.
Mr. McCray, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. Any discussion?
I would just add, based on some of the previous discussion we had about River Rock, I do think that's a good use of that district asset. Obviously, based on size, location, configuration, so forth like that, there are probably limited opportunities to use that facility. So I do think this is one of the best outcomes, not just for that facility, but also, as Dr. Trick and others mentioned, also for the students in the district who are able to take advantage of it as well.
Thank you, Mr. McCray. Any other discussion for finance items? Okay, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Case.
Yes.
Mrs. Denny,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
Under teaching and learning, I think it appropriate tonight to to vote on 10.1 and 10.2 separately. So I'm going to request a motion to remove 10.3 to be voted on separately. Do I have to, or can I just do that?
You can just call for a motion for 10.1 and 10.2 only.
And then just do 10.3. Mr. Moravich. Okay. Making us do more work. Okay. So looking for a motion for 10.1 and 10.2 under teaching and learning. 10.1, request approval of the counseling program student internship agreement between Gwynedd Mercy University and Wilson School District. And 10.2, request approval to accept a $50,000 PA student teacher support program grant from the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency to be dispersed to eligible fall 2024 student teacher participants. So just on 10.1 and 10.2, looking for a motion. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Schneider, second.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I would just like to point out for 10.2 that it is a grant to assist student teachers financially, and this would have been extremely beneficial when I was a student teacher and driving 45 minutes to my student teaching assignment every day with a end of college budget. So that would end nice close. So I'm very happy for the current student teachers and hope that that also entices more students to possibly go into the field of education because that is definitely a financial burden that other careers, career paths don't have necessarily their senior year. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just a point of clarification, that is a very thin amount of students that actually get the grant. And it was a very wonky rollout. It's not based on financial need. Oh, you could probably talk an hour on this, couldn't
Yes, I'm glad it's not in my realm.
I think it's a fabulous idea. If anybody from PD wants to ask how they could do it better, perhaps they could ask people in higher education. Great.
So you're saying it's a good start? It's a good start.
Fabulous start. Fabulous start.
So hopefully that extends and expands into a stronger program as we move forward. Okay. Hearing no further comments, roll call on 10.1 and 10.2, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
10.3, request, looking for a motion to request approval of an agreement with Renaissance to provide a continuum of learning universal screener tools for students in grades 1 through 8 for the Wilson School District, effective 11/1/24, ending 11/30/25. Looking for a motion for 10.3. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second? Mr. McCree, thank you. And before comments and questions, I would like to kind of explain why that was pulled out. At our previous meeting on October 21st, it was item 13.7. We had a lengthy conversation, and the motion ultimately did not carry. We had a 4-4 vote. Tonight, we will again have a motion regarding this extending the purchase of the universal screening tool. This tool was already approved by the board for grades 1 through 5, like it's been in use for 1 through 5, and is now being proposed to include grades 6 through 8. We did have, from last meeting to this meeting, kindergarten removed from the scope of the screener due to developmental factors involved with early learners. And the use of the universal screener is to assess where students perform both academically and behaviorally in order to assist in plans for instruction, advancement, assistance based on their individual needs of the students. So the data that we receive by administering the screener is examined by each school team and focuses on instructional planning for all students. The universal screener is just one part of the data profile for our students, as you know, especially middle school, they have CDTs. Like we're constantly, as well as in classroom assessments, gauging where our students are. This is just another tool to provide more of a robust profile for each student within our MTSS structure. So, having said that, any questions or comments on 10.3? Dr. Kennedy.
We spoke about this at our last curriculum committee meeting. One of the questions that I had for Dr. Stout is why can't we do this in-house and make our own? And she assured me that that was not a cost-effective or faculty-effective way of using our teachers and our support staff. I do appreciate that we took kindergarten out. That is, that was a hard no for me. A couple of the further questions that I had were, how are we going to make sure that the kids just aren't clicking? And can, at the end, if we do vote this through, can we have a kind of a number that says, like, this is the amount of kids that we think we're just like not blowing this off, versus this is the kind of kids that we found new information about, or we found important information about, or we found accurate information about. The other thing that we talked a little bit about, I think at curriculum, was I do worry about our teachers teaching to this test. I want to be assured that this is, that we mean it when we say good teaching. If good teaching leads to good results, good assessments, and if you're that you shouldn't have to teach to this test, and also that this test isn't going to be used to punish any teachers. I know that there's been rumors about principals that have been moving teachers to different grade levels because of test scores, and I would hope that this would not be the case in this district. And there was one more thing, I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it in a second, but I just want, to be sure that and I trust Dr. Stout explicitly that if this is not an appropriate assessment, she's going to say, look, this isn't worth the $80,000 or $74,000 that it's costing the district, because that is an awful lot of money.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
No.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
No.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
No.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
6 yes, 3 no.
Moving on to policies. We have a first reading of something, a policy that is, I think, really forward-thinking. I know it took a lot of work from both, obviously, our administration, but I believe the tech committee also had a part in this conversation. For 8.15.1, the use of generative artificial intelligence in education. It's not just a buzzword. We have students that are definitely using AI for a multitude of uses, and I think it's really helpful to have some guidelines set in place on how we're going to teach them to use these tools positively and see them as tools, not just a way to cheat. Because that's, new technology, that's the way the kids kind of go. So kudos to the group that was working on that. A second reading, so first and second readings are not voted on tonight, so second readings of the following policies: 323 for tobacco and vaping products, and 351 for drug and substance abuse. And then tonight, we do have a final reading and adoption of the following policies. Policy 218, student discipline. Policy 222, tobacco and vaping products. Policy 805.1, relations with law enforcement agencies. And Policy 806, child abuse. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the final reading and adoption of those 4 policies.
Schneider, so moved.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper?
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, then roll call, please.
Mr. McCree?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no.
That takes us to committee reports. BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Yes, thank you, President Cocker. For BCTC, we met at the East Campus on Wednesday, October 23rd. So during the dinner, which famously the JOC gets to enjoy a meal prepared by the students in the culinary program at BCTC, during the dinner, I learned that some of the JOC members actually start every single one of their committee reports in their districts with the menu. So I kind of wanted to start that a little bit as a tradition, but there's an ulterior motive that I have. So let me just read to you some of the items that were on our menu. As a starter, we had a Caesar salad made with romaine, pecorino romano, avocado, lime, Caesar dressing, and garlic croutons. For our protein selection, we had grilled chicken marsala with mushroom and a marsala demi-glaze, and a New York strip with an herb compound butter and beef reduction. For our starch, we had Yukon Gold mashed potatoes made with butter, heavy cream, and kosher salt. For our vegetables, we had roasted rainbow carrots, string beans with butter and kosher salt, sprinkled with crispy shallots. And our dessert selections was a brownie sundae pie made with a chocolate crust, brownie ganache, whipped cream with a cherry on top, and an apple crumb pie made with Granny Smith apples and a creme anglaise. So if you haven't eaten supper, I'm sure you're probably hungry. So I did this in an effort to bring back something that I know our former board member, board president, Matt Wolf, who was also our JOC representative for BCTC, had done this before, where he actually had our board go to BCTC and enjoy and experience one of the dinners prepared by
Schneider, so moved.
the culinary students. So I was thinking maybe we could try to arrange that again. And I probably, Mr. Case did that with our board. It was before my time.
Couldn't
so
get
I
the
don't
calendars straight, but we tried.
I know I thought we tried. So it would be really great if we could try to do that again. And usually they don't just, do the culinary program. They will show you another specific program at whatever site we ended up at. And I think it would be a great idea for us to just physically see some of the students at play with one of the programs. They're all amazing, and I learn something every time I go. So I thought maybe if we could bring that back. Moving on, so one of the items that we heavily discussed during the committee as a whole was the increased enrollment that is being experienced currently at BCTC. And it's actually been a couple of years now, which I found interesting but not too surprising given the recent declines in higher education enrollments. They established that, this was a little confusing at first, but for next year, the maximum capacity for BCTC at both campuses is 2,494 students. And that includes both of the campuses' dual campus programs and their dual multi-teacher programs. So just to give you some kind of reference, last year's enrollment was 1,846 students, and it's currently a little over 2,000 students. Plus, there are about 300 students on a waiting list. And of those 300 students, the program that has had the largest and most consistent being for at least the past 3 years, has been health occupations, which tends to be a very popular, and I believe locally it's a labor-intensive occupation. And so it's been holding the most consistent waiting list at BCTC. So there was a lot of discussion about the potential to expand that program. And we were looking at just looking at the local workforce and workforce development initiatives around healthcare, because there is such a heavy need for local healthcare workers. So one of the things that we were talking about is maybe offering internships or offering part of the training for the students off campus at healthcare facilities or at healthcare sites. So it was a really enriching kind of conversation. So, and I thought I'd bring it here, given that a lot of our students who do go to BCTC are also going into this particular occupation. So it might even offer us, something to think about, something to kind of ponder over in terms of what we're doing here at our campus. Some other updates. We approved dissolving the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, CTSO, which stands for Career and Technical Student Organization, and transferring those funds to the Skills USA account, since the Skills USA will be the only CTSO moving forward after this year that BCTC will be competing in. And then speaking of competition, the Ole Fair back in September, their horticulture education floral competition, we had 2 Wilson 11th graders place during that competition. 11th grader Jaden Queek placed second for their vase of carnations, and 11th grader Elizabeth Fordna also placed second for their corsage. And then just some updates coming up for BCTC. They're holding their fall open house at the West Campus on November 12th, and their fall open house at the East Campus on November 13th. And then the Skills Leadership Conference will be from November 13th to the 15th. So that's my report. Our next meeting, we skipped the month of November, so our next meeting isn't until December 12th. It's a Thursday at the West Campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. BCIU and curriculum, Dr. Kennedy.
Yes, I don't have anything for the BCIU this week, but I do have a curriculum committee update. For the elementary level, we want to say thank you to the Philly Pretzel Factory for sponsoring a trip for all 4th grade students to the Reading Royals education game on Friday, February 4th at 10:30 in the morning. All grade levels, K to 5, are engaged in professional learning throughout this year. K to 3 is focused on literacy and continuing to develop the skills of the profile of a Wilson graduate. 4th and 5th grade teachers are both engaged in book studies for ELA and math. The ELA teachers are using Word Journeys by Kathy Gansky, and the math teachers are reading Building Thinking Classrooms by Peter, I'm not even going to attempt his last name, Peter L. And they are both trying to connect with the profile of a Wilson graduate. And we do have 2 groups of teachers in the middle schools involved in subject-specific professional learning opportunities. The 6th and 7th grade ELA teams are meeting with Logan Fisher from Mossflower to continue their work combining reading and writing into an integrated ELA. And the middle level math teachers are working with Better Lesson as they continue to refine their instruction through illustrative mathematics. This year, teachers have attended workshops and participated in goal-oriented collaboration with the Better Lesson staff. The middle schools are also continuing to learn more about the MTSS framework and how it can be best implemented at the middle school level. Teachers participated in an informal session on October 14th, which will be followed by a deeper dive into the SST process at their November faculty meetings. Middle school leadership and instructional support teachers are attending the BCIU leadership series about MTSS as well. They went to a meeting in October, and they will have sessions in December and February. At the high school, math educators teaching Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 are continuing a series of professional learning sessions with Better Lesson to support their implementation of the illustrative math curriculum. And on October 16th, 9 teams of district and building level administrators from across Wilson visited 36 high school classrooms to experience the learning environments and cultures that exist in classrooms up at the high school. And that was our meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. There's definitely something really beneficial of seeing the classroom environment and even just like the physical space of other teachers, even within your own building. So, yeah.
I mean, getting to do it, I always said, even if I had to go back in the classroom tomorrow, because I went and visited so many other classrooms over so many different districts, I would be a better teacher every time just from seeing other people. So it's a great opportunity.
Thank you for your report. Student Services, Mr. McCree.
No report.
Thank you. Mrs. Schlossman is not here tonight, so we do not have a Brooks EIT. There is no extracurricular committee report because we have not held a meeting since our last meeting. Facilities Committee, Mr. Case.
Thank you. We have not met as a facilities committee since our last board meeting, but I will share a couple of the updates that the board received for the public. Just a couple of notes. The Performing Arts Center is gaining momentum, taking advantage of the great weather lately, so starting to catch up on schedule and get ahead of things. The Gursky track is now complete, so that was completed last week, and students and community members can now use the track and stay within lines, which is phenomenal. The operations department has been prepping for the Veterans Appreciation Dance that's going to be held on Saturday, which is a phenomenal event. And lastly, the Geotechnical Associates, they'll be on site this week at Lincoln Park on the property for the next phase of the invasive testing for the design of the foundation. So that's happening this week. That's my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Fingers crossed for some positive results. Finance Committee, Mr. McCray.
We have not met since our last meeting either, so no report.
Thank you. Legislative, Mr. Schneider.
I have no report.
Thank you. Human Resources, Mr. Hart.
I have no report.
Thank you. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman. You have a report. No. Okay.
So first of all, I want to say that 50 years ago, in 1974, we opened the doors of Southern Junior High School and Cornwall Terrace Elementary School, and tomorrow we're going to be celebrating this milestone with a special luncheon. We'll be uncovering a time capsule from 1974 and sharing exciting plans for the future of particularly Southern Middle School. In addition to our current staff at both buildings, we're going to be honored to welcome back former alumni, teachers, and administrators to join us in the celebration. As we look to the next 50 years, both schools are going to work together, and we're going to fill a new time capsule and install it in the wall to be opened in 2074. So that's interesting. And the board, we welcome all of you if you'd like to join us for the festivities. They start at noon tomorrow. And Wilson West Middle School is excited to present Disney's Moana Jr. Performances will run Thursday, November 7th at 7, Friday the 8th at 7, and Saturday the 9th at 2:30 in the auditorium at West Middle School. And you can still purchase tickets online on the West Middle School website. And then finally, related to the first reading we had of our AI policy, we're inviting the community to join us on November 13th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom here for an insightful discussion on AI in education. You'll learn about the district's commitment to responsible AI use, discover practical applications, address misconceptions, and collaborate on a shared vision for AI in our schools. The entire community is welcome, and we hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
No report.
Technology Committee, Mr. McCray.
No report.
Student Outreach, Ms. Isabel Negrini.
Thank you, President Cocker. I hope all of you have had a wonderful Monday so far. I wanted to start off by recognizing 8 amazing female high school students who attended the incredible Girls in STEM Symposium at Kutztown University on October 17th. I just wanted to really recognize and thank these 8 incredible girls for doing an incredible job of representing the female student population here at the high school, as it's so important to represent women in the STEM field. Additionally, the past month, Southern Middle School celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month by educating themselves on the Hispanic culture through food, decorations, music, and more. And again, I think it's just so incredible that our schools are celebrating a variety of different cultures as the school is growing in population and also in diversity as well. Additionally, last Thursday, the school district celebrated Halloween with costume parades, spooky activities, and more, which is so fun for everyone who celebrates. Congratulations to the 2024 Wilson Extraordinary Teachers of the Year, Natasha Palm and Mary Plummer, for their incredible impact on the school district. I had the privilege of having Mrs. Palm in middle school as my English teacher, and she's an incredible human being and an incredible teacher. So I'm very happy for those 2 amazing women. And Wilson Minithon had 2 very successful events these past 2 weeks, both Duncan's Corn Maze and an indoor Halloween movie night. These both were super successful, and again, all of this money is helping children fighting childhood cancer. Congratulations to all of the Wilson athletes who were selected as Berks County All-Stars. And also, congratulations to the football team for a huge win in the Lancaster-Lebanon League Championship on an exciting win against rival Manheim Township, 34-16. The Wilson Theater Company announced a new and exciting community spelling bee event featuring many Wilson teachers in honor of their upcoming fall musical. And the mock bee will be held on November 6th at 7 at Southern Middle School. It's a great way to promote this incredible show. And lastly, congratulations to the Wilson High School Marching Band, who earned 2nd place out of 9 teams at the Cavalcade of Bands competition this weekend. This is the best that the Wilson Marching Band has done at this specific competition since 2011. So it's absolutely incredible, and our school is really doing great right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Negrini. I would have been very upset if you said no report. So we had a streak going. I'm glad you stopped the streak. And Mrs. Luke, do you have any?
I'm like scared to say no report
No, you're
based
okay.
on that, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I don't have anything specific to report.
Okay, thank you for being here. We have no public participation on non-agenda items this evening. Is there any other business from the board? Dr. Kennedy?
I'd like to just give a shout out. Our youth football and our youth cheer had a really big weekend this weekend. Let me get it right. The varsity mites, which is the 4th graders, had a thrilling game. They beat Mifflin, always a good time, for the championship for the mites. And then the Lincoln Park midgets won against Mifflin, and they won the championship for their grade level. So that's really great news for Wilson football coming up. And both the Lincoln Park and the Van Reed cheerleaders participated in the Wilson Bulldog cheer competition this weekend. It was huge. It was a big day because we had both football games and the cheer competition went on at the same time. And there were all the things. And so everybody was parked in Whitfield, and it was really great. My squad, we cheered at the cheer competition. We ran to the football game. And then we ran back from the football game to hear where we placed at the cheer competition, and then ran back for the last 2 minutes of the football game. So we were really grateful that we had home field advantage, and we could literally go from the gym to the stadium. But I would love to give a shout out to the 2 high school cheer coaches, not just the 2, but the assistant coaches as well, Stacy Futrick and Tanya Cosgrove. the amount of time that they put in just for their girls is incredible, but the outreach that they do for our girls at Van Reed and at Lincoln Park is just so greatly appreciated. They give their time and their talents, and they are talented, just to come and help our girls out. And they make our girls feel so special. And the high school cheerleaders come down and talk to our girls, and they make the girls feel so special. And they'll see them at football games, and they'll wave, and we go to they always have fundraising. And if you were able to see the girls compete, you would understand that these girls truly are athletes. And sometimes, cheer gets a little bit of a reputation that we're not athletes. And if you saw my girls lift each other over their heads, and if you saw my 10-year-olds that can tumble better than some of the girls on the high school team, you would know that we are athletes. We have little girls that are lifting other little girls who are their same size over their head. And if you've ever been with a group of 10-year-old girls, you know that getting them to do anything is hard, but let alone getting them to do things together in sync, with rhythm, is almost impossible. So shout out to all the girls who are cheerleaders. Shout out to everyone who treats them and agrees that they are athletes, because they really are. So thanks to Mr. Kaufman and to our scheduler for getting us in for some gym time, and we do definitely appreciate it.
I would just add, as the father of 2 varsity cheerleaders, if I did not add to that, I'm sure I would hear it when I got home. But what you said about both Coach Stacy and Coach Tanya is absolutely true. Not only are they phenomenal coaches, but more importantly, they're amazing role models, not just for my children, but for maybe even generations of girls who have come up through Wilson, and we are very lucky to have both of them.
Thank you both for the positive piece. Thank you. Mrs. Casper?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on Ms. Negrini's, which she reported about the big win for our marching band in the Cavalcade of Bands competition. I just wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Kuhn and all of the parents and all of the volunteers in the Wilson Music Promoters who, if it wasn't for the parents and all of them, we wouldn't be able to get this far. And given our kind of rough start at the beginning of the season, and Mr. Kuhn stepping in, it's really been an amazing season. And our students have really benefited from his leadership, and all the work that the parents have done to make this a success this season. So I'm so proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Mrs. Denny?
I just wanted to give some PSAs and some information. People may have noticed that there's an election tomorrow. You might have seen a commercial or two. And I wanted to bring it up not to promote any political ideology, but to encourage everybody to please vote, regardless of who you are going to vote for. I am a big fan of the Constitution. I find it just to be an amazing document that has survived 237 years, if I'm doing my math correctly. Despite all the changes, it's been flexible enough and yet solid enough to survive. But one of the things that I think is important is when it was ratified in 1787, only a very limited number of people could vote. If you were not a white Christian male landowner over 21, you couldn't vote. And so in context, out of this table of 12 people, that means that 7 of us would not have been able to vote when the Constitution was ratified. Obviously, over time, due to the 15th and the 19th and the 25th Amendment, that has changed. So today, any U.S. citizen who is over the age of 18 can vote. And so it is a right that you should not take for granted. People literally have died for us to be able to vote. So I want to encourage everyone, if you have not already done so, to vote. Along those lines, there has been an unprecedented number of requests for mail-in ballots. I spoke with one of the county commissioners on Friday, and it was over 50,000 ballots at that point. It took me 3 weeks to get mine. So if you are one of the Berks Countyans who did not receive your mail-in ballot in a timely fashion, you can go on votepa.gov to find out the information. But for those of you who don't like to read instructions like me, a very brief synopsis is that you can take your ballot with you to your polling place. You can take it and drop it off at the government center down on Court Street through tomorrow, or you can take it with you to your polling place and they will cancel your mail-in ballot and you can vote in person. But you need to bring it. If for some reason your ballot has not arrived at all, or you mailed it back but it is not showing that it has been received, or you realize, uh-oh, I didn't put it in the outer security envelope, or there's any issue at all with voting and you believe I should be able to vote at this polling place or something like that, you just go to your polling place and you ask for a provisional ballot. A provisional ballot is like a backup. It's the backup plan for voting. And what that says is after they have gone through all the votes that people went in person and all the mail-in ballots, they then go through the provisional ballots. They make sure the person is eligible to vote and that they have not already voted, and then they count the provisional ballot. So maybe your ballot got lost in the mail but magically shows up at 7:59 on Tuesday in the mail. They'll count that one and dispose the provisional ballot. But this way you can make sure that you get your right to vote. And then the final informational thing I want to share is that as elected officials, we all have been involved in an election process, and I know that there have been concerns raised about the process itself. I have been fortunate enough in 2020, 2022, and tomorrow to serve as a canvass observer. A canvass observer is somebody who goes down and watches the actual pre-canvassing and canvassing of mail-in ballots. There will be, in addition to the people running it and the bipartisan county commissioners, probably at any point between 10 and 20 people who are authorized to be there to observe the process. Under Pennsylvania law, you cannot start pre-canvassing, which is the opening of the mailing ballot, not the actual ballot, but the outer ballot, until 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So that means nothing has been touched, and so that process starts at 7 a.m. tomorrow. At 7 p.m., they start the actual canvassing, which is the processing of the votes. Between 2020 and today, they have purchased a significant amount of equipment, which enables them to open many more ballots. And so in 2020, when most people went to bed, I don't believe Berks County had calculated its votes, mostly because they still hadn't finished the pre-canvassing to be able to put the votes, the actual ballots in to figure out what the results were. Once they start the process at 7 a.m., they will not stop until all votes have been processed, meaning they are going in 24-hour shifts until it is done. But it is expected that they have enough equipment and enough manpower that results should be in for the mail-in ballots, not provisional, not overseas, hopefully at some point election night. Maybe not while we're awake, but in other words, at some point it should get done. So I want people to understand that Berks County, our commissioners, our election folks have done an amazing job. Our election here is safe, it is secure, people are monitoring it, and votes will get processed and counted. So I hope whoever you're voting for tomorrow, whomever you have already voted for, that will make you feel assured that your vote will matter, because everybody's vote should matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Other comments from the board, other business? Bless you. Okay. Hearing none. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Schneider, so moved.
Meeting adjourned.